On this Uplevel Dairy Podcast, we're out in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for the Central Plains Dairy Expo. And while I was out there, I had a chance to sit down with Tommy Oesch from Swiss Lane Farms to catch up on how it's been going as he transitions into his new role as visionary of Swiss Lane. And we also talk a little bit about how the wrestling season wound down for his family and for mine right here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Uplevel Dairy Podcast founding partner Adisseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and premier provider of rumen-protected methionine for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, capture more value from components, and maintain the health of their high-performing herds. Tommy, we're back. It's been a few months. Good to see you here. We're at Central Plains Dairy Expo.
Yeah, it's exciting. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be in person here.
I know
usually we're, zooming. Across the screen. So this is fun.
Yeah. So this is fun. We get to sit down together and we get to catch up. Yeah. Because last time we chatted, it was probably December maybe or November before the end of the year.
Yep.
So now we're almost at the end of Q1 of 2025. And so I think a great place to start, Tommy, is let's just recap Q1. So you've been pushing through some big goals and visions, stepping into your role as now the visionary at Swiss Lane Farms. So that's been a transition, and we'll get into what that's looked like. But generally, what would you say have been some of the biggest wins for the Swiss Lane team so far in Q1 as we're getting near to that?
One of the main things has been kind of our labor situation. There was a lot of uncertainty coming out of election season and into this kind of season. We were experiencing quite a few job seekers, but not a lot of qualified people that we wanted to employ. So we've been using the TN visa program for several years, and all signs point to the last administration didn't really want that program to work because we weren't getting appointments, and the appointments we were getting at the consulate were getting denied for really no reason. And I've talked to a few other dairymen here that have had very similar experience. All of a sudden, 2 weeks after the election, we get appointments and we get approvals right away. At the same time, the border closes. Our people kind of freak out for a minute. We try to reassure them hey, just keep doing what you're doing. Everything's going to be okay. And everything has been okay. And the good news is we've got some really great people. And we feel like the pathway for the time being is open for us to get good people that fit job descriptions that a little bit higher skill. So excited about that.
Yeah, so that's a big win. It sounds like it's not just for Swiss Lane. It's kind of hopefully a at-large
I feel like
industry one.
At least anybody that's using that program or one like it, there's a real opportunity here. And obviously the dairy industry in Michigan has been really good. A lot of uncertainty on the flip side politically with tariffs and all that. But so far, we've had a really solid year. Obviously, with our metrically, there's some things we have to work on, but it feels good to, have some profits, share them with our employees. That's all positive.
Yeah, so 2025 is off to a good start for Swiss Lane at large.
Yeah.
Any other wins for the team?
We had a pretty major loss recently. We had a young man that worked for us for 7 years, passed away, car accident, tragically. And, but in the, there's always a silver lining. It's hard to find silver linings in a situation. It was on his 23rd birthday, really good kid.
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. But, we have 85 paychecks that go out every other week. And my cousin Annie did a really nice tribute. Sebastian was a kid who was he was a farm kid at heart. And so like she asked the family and they obliged. They were grateful. She made like, you know, high vis shirts that honored his name, setting in loving honor, and like gave them to our employees. We invited them to the funeral, and there were 62 yellow shirts out of 85 employees.
Oh,
and we had at least 9 guys milking cows. So if you think about that, I mean, that's 71 out of 85 really people, which was pretty awesome, like cultural moment for our team.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So,
What a powerful moment, especially at such a hard time.
yeah. So my hat's off to her and like to my cousin, and just doing a nice job with our culture. I mean, there's days we feel like we're losing the culture battle, right? Like, do people even know our core values? Do they even care? Do they care about our vision, right? Do we have a vision that we are all aligned on? Like a vision statement. We have a vision, but do we have a statement that says succinctly, this is, why we get out of bed every day? So
Yeah. Well, let's pivot to that a little bit, because I wanted to catch up on how your transition is going into the role of the visionary for Swiss Lane Farms. And let's start with that. So vision, you said what it is in your minds, but is the current statement a reflection of that? Not just to you and the leadership team, but to all of those folks, all of those ones in the yellow shirts, right? Yep. So how has the transition been?
Well, I think really good in a lot of ways. It's challenging, but I'm really thankful for the leadership team I have around me. They all are very supportive of my role as the visionary of the company. And when it comes to, getting out and meeting people, I'm good at it. I like it. And even this week, forming relationships and seeing new things and bringing back kind of the R&D. A visionary role is an R&D role in a lot of ways. And so it's out like bringing back the ideas, and seeing what other people are doing and how they're keeping the wheels turning in their business. That's been good. A quarter ago at our annual planning session, we did an exercise where we went around the room and wrote on a note card, I need you to put for every person, put one thing they need to start doing and one thing they need to stop doing for the business.
And you had to do this for each other.
For each other on our leadership team.
Oh, right? What did that show?
It was pretty cool. Like, I don't remember all of the things. I mean, it was good. Like, most of mine revolved around intentionally speaking to the business, to our people. It's one thing to get out and talk to my peers. I'm really good at that. Talking to you, it's fun, right? But like, am I deliberately, intentionally talking to the people throughout every layer of our company? But anyway, the one thing that came up, Randy, our livestock manager, great guy, and you kind of got to know Randy. He says, say it like it is, direct dairyman. And he said, you have a big sword and you need to swing it, right? And he kind of uses analogies like that. So my brother got me this big old sword, and it says visionary of Swiss Lane Farm, or Swiss Lane Farms visionary on it. Just kind of a gesture of like, hey, this is your role, like accept it and run with it, right?
And the support from your team in doing so.
Yeah. So that's been good. But you would think, okay, you're a visionary. What's your vision? For me, it's simple for our company. It's 10,000 cows by 2032. That's still, going back to our first podcast and 7,000 cows in 7 years. We're on track, and that's like where we're going. That's the vision. But when it comes to vision statements, our vision statement has been for several years showing the way forward. And for me, I can tell you pretty simply what showing the way forward is. It's, in everything that we do, from leadership to production practices to how we lead in the community, showing people how to live. Well, that doesn't we found that's a really can be a little bit tricky to translate culturally into Spanish or whatever. It's kind of a bit of an ethereal vision statement. It doesn't mean I don't like it, right? So in the last year, we brought Ben Vanderbilt. He's our operations manager now. He's the one that kind of he's worked for us for several years, but kind of bumped me out of the operations role. I remember when we brought Brian on as our CFO, and when we brought Randy in as the first non-family member onto the leadership team, we've always had this pause, because we talk about it every quarter. Do we have alignment on the vision statement? Mm-hmm. And every time a new person comes onto the team, the leadership team, we get a pause at showing the way forward. And so we're now, one of our rocks for this next quarter is to get alignment on our vision statement. So it's interesting. And I think that's okay. It's definitely okay to get alignment, right? But I think it's okay to not have it, and recognize it and try to flesh it out.
Yeah.
So.
And give yourself some space to really update. Who are you now? Right? Because how long ago was it that you initially had nailed down that?
Oh, I'm going to say it's probably been 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, maybe longer even. Time flies.
It does. But, and some might say, well, we just did it 5 or 6 years ago, but how much have you changed in 5 or 6 years?
I haven't aged a day. I'm just kidding.
How much have you grown, right? Personally, are you the person you were 5 years ago?
No.
And are the other people that sit next to you at the leadership table, are they the same people they were?
No.
And are your employees the same people they were?
Right.
And and there's nothing that forces growth faster than making it happen. There's something that forces personal growth more than growing around you, right?
Right.
So your team is they have accelerated as you've scaled towards a vision. Mm-hmm. So maybe it doesn't match them anymore either.
Right.
So what are the steps you take from here?
So we have some meetings scheduled to just to get thoughts on paper, and we've done quite a bit of brainstorming. Right. One theme that keeps kind of coming up is a shepherd leads his sheep. Our shepherd leads us. And that does translate into Spanish, and there's a phraseology that goes along with that. That I think everybody could get behind if we decide to. But then there's some in the group that would rather see something a little bit more tactile, more related to the milking of the cow, the feeding of people, produce food production. One that comes up is feeding the world, and I know there's other dairies that have that, and it makes sense, right? We're not just milking cows, we're feeding the world. We're not just laying bricks, we're building a cathedral. And so I can get around that. So we're just having these conversations, and there may be some other things that some other phrases that come up, but we want it just simple, something that that we repeat, that's Swiss Lane Farms, showing the way forward. This is what we do. Everybody knows this is what we do.
So it's not that the vision has changed.
No.
I mean, the vision is still on track, and maybe it just expands in some ways,
Sure.
right? But it's the statement and the words that you were saying.
Yeah.
Is this still who we are? And
Yeah.
is this who everyone needs you to be?
Right.
Is maybe another question too. Okay, so I just had a conversation. Jorge Delgado was in here with me this morning, and we were talking about goals and turning that into those visions, vision statements or mission statements that you articulate and infiltrate throughout the business, right? So for you, once you get those words down and dialed in and right where you want them to be, what do you do with them after that?
what we've done with our core values is, we plaster them all over posters and, shirts and signs, and in the hiring process and the review process, like they're everywhere, right? So it's just getting it in front of everybody every day
and repeating it. So that statement, like, it is really, it is really powerful and does matter because it touches every aspect around you that you influence, and that you also have to have their buy-in, whether it's your neighbors, whether it's your employees, to keep moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So what else is on your plate right now as that visionary?
We're working on a couple different deals, just as far as our expansion plans and how we're going to do that. And I do need to, in the next quarter, I need to get to every team on the dairy and share our company rocks with them. I need to, re-talk about core values and all the things that we talk about, mission, growing in the dairy business. That's on my plate. I need to go on spring break. I'm so sick of winter in Michigan, Peggy.
But it's spring now.
It's spring here in South Dakota. It is still dead of winter in Michigan. It's not supposed to be, but it's 30 degrees. The wind's blowing and it's snowing. So it is, yeah. So I will take some personal time for vacation with my family for spring break. We're excited about it because we've been deep into wrestling and volleyball and all the winter sports, which have been awesome. My wife and I we kind of thought, we're not that old, but we thought it'd be nice to have even a few day break from Michigan winter to go someplace warm. In the last few years with kids sports, there's no break, and you have to enjoy this time, right? The sports time. But now I'm ready for some warmth.
And you're in the thick of it with your kids right now.
Oh yeah.
We talk about the business side, but like that's only a portion of what your focus is, because the other part is family, dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a driver now, 16-year-old. Henry just turned 16. Watching him drive out the driveway in the dark with my other two children in the car to go to school. There's a real bittersweet moment, like
everything you love in one vehicle.
Oh man, it was
without you driving.
Yes.
Or your wife driving.
It was a whole new surrender. Like, God, they are really in your hands, God.
But you've raised them well. And you guys have had some victories in the last couple of months here.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got to talk about this because I've become a wrestling mom with my little 7-year-old. He's 63 pounds of pure intimidation. And
so are you a wizard at track wrestling yet?
It's a struggle. It's a struggle. You know what I'm really good at though? I'm really good at yelling passionately.
Oh, there you go.
I've really nailed that. Yep, that's my.
What's your go-to like yell?
No, we're not. Travis, you're not. No, not happening. Not happening. Well, I've toned it down because my 7-year-old told me I was embarrassing. And I don't have a go-to, Tommy, because what happens is, I don't know if your wife experienced this, but like something just takes you over when it's your child. And you say things that you maybe wouldn't normally say. And then you realize that you just
rip his head off is not a
yes.
Something
you realize
like that.
You just encouraged your child to rip off the head. Yeah, I might have said that once or twice.
Yeah.
To rip off the head of another first grader. And I'm like, I need to have a morals check because this is probably not the parent I should be. But something takes over you.
I know.
You become a different person.
See, I'm a little bit more stoic of a wrestling dad. There's days that I get that I can't help but yell. But I was a wrestler. Your husband was a wrestler too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it is excruciating to watch your kid. And he's a sophomore this year. His team is very good. They're like a top 30 team in the country.
So,
in
okay.
wrestling.
So this is their how many like consecutive state wins this year for
The
your
varsity
hometown
team won their 12th straight state title.
That's insane.
I know.
And that's Lowell, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're talking about wrestling, but like I want to talk about like the culture and the program of creating, like building people up.
What I found is there's just so many people that are better than me at literally everything on the dairy. Everything, I've bred the cows, I've milked the cows, I've swept the floor, I've driven the tractors, and
you told me one time
things.
Before you were the dairy's nutritionist at one point too, right?
Not a good one, but I was. I don't know if I've mentioned it on your podcast before, but like I tell the leaders, your tendency is to identify the negative things about people often. And I always tell them like, hey, everybody is better than you at something.
Mm.
Find what that is and have them do that all day, right? What are they better than you at?
And it takes a little bit of humility to be able to do that sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because there's things that maybe you think you're pretty good at. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience, right? Like you think you're pretty good, and you're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to let go and trust someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna come back to comparing to wrestling a little bit. This is a conversation that my husband and I have often in our house, like about the sport of wrestling, and because it's interesting as a team, it's both a team sport and an individual sport,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
and when you look at your team on the dairy and the people that are part of leadership, management, and all the layers, there are certain people that are wired to be great team players
Mm-hmm.
and great team leaders and managers. And there's certain people that are wired to be high individual performers.
Yeah. We've had a lot of high performers and we still have some very high performers that we now kind of, when you identify a high performer, you have to say this guy needs investment, because often performers need more leadership coaching than those that are maybe not as high of performers. The temptation is always just let that guy keep rocking. But inevitably it's like, well, we need to promote him because he's so good. And the next promotion is leadership. When we get to that point, we do like an employee analyzer, work that tool. So we go through, and it's a really simple tool, like where you give a plus or minus to all these different areas of their job. And if at the end it's not a plus, if it's maybe a plus negative you have to decide, like, are we going to invest or are we going to move on from this person, or are we going to move them?
Okay.
Yep.
So this is where you created that rubric, and Christy Pagel led this. Does this with you?
Yeah, she
Okay.
did it the first time, and that's one thing we do. I mean, we love Christy, and so those guys that we identify that need investment, right? We'll set up meetings with her and with their supervisor. So try to take a multifaceted approach of like building into their leadership.
And how's that worked out?
Well, we've had to let a couple people go. And when I say let go, it's interesting because we always try to honor people. It's not that they're bad people. They're just not the right fit. And sometimes you're not doing a person any justice by keeping them in your business. And that's hard. I mean, it's easy to say, much harder to do.
You're always insightful about what's going on and what's on the minds of yourself and people that think like you as dairymen and women. What else has been coming up for you lately?
really understanding that my generation now is kind of really driving the ship on the productive side of the dairy industry all the way across the country.
So Tommy, as we wrap up today, again, it's always so great to sit down with you. We actually got to sit down in the same room
I know.
instead of across from each other virtually across Lake Michigan today. But I'm going to put a challenge on you before I let you out of your chair. I would love to hear from you. What is one question that you would want to pose to the next dairy producer that I sit down with on the podcast?
An interesting question for all. What do you want to be your identity?
Ooh, that's a really good question. How would you answer it?
I think it's a really hard question for dairymen in particular, because most of us were raised with dads who identified as dairymen, right? And it wasn't necessarily healthy for them or for their families. And certainly I want that to be a piece of my story, but I don't want it to be the whole story. I've been pretty deliberate to try to not make my identity as just a dairyman.
I think you're doing well, Tommy.
Oh, thanks.
You're
I
a
don't know,
dairyman.
some days.
You're a dad.
Yeah.
You are a dairyman dad disciple. Like, you take that role of your life very seriously too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, thanks, Tommy. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's awesome.
Always is.
You just heard from Tommy Oesch from Swiss Lane Farms here on the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. For more from Tommy, head back to some of our previous episodes. And if you like what you heard today, make sure you leave us a 5-star rating, or better yet, write a review. I'm Peggy Coffeen, and until next time, keep on growing, keep on learning, and up-leveling your dairy. This episode is sponsored by Uplevel Dairy Podcast founding partner Adisseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and premier provider of rumen-protected methionine for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, capture more value from components, and maintain the health of their high-performing herds.